Well then, hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, however you're doing. Hey out there, all of you city builders and city builders in question. My name is Josh, and thank you all very much for tuning in to another episode of Dead Men Streaming. I've got a new title card. Yes, I know it's terrible. I thought of it like 5 minutes before I was supposed to broadcast tonight, but hey, here we go. So, title card, you see it. All right, let me flip this off really quick. But first, again, my name is Joshua Smith, and you are tuned into Dead Men Streaming. You can follow me along on YouTube. I usually get these videos up a couple of weeks after I have first done them on Twitch. Or if you just want to rewatch them, you can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com/sagadnw, where I primarily talk about the work I do as a fantasy horror and cyberpunk author. Or you can just outright read my books by jumping down to my website below at sagadnw.com. Now that is enough of that. Let's get that off. That and that goes away. And now for a reminder. Let me show you guys where we were, what we were doing the last time we were out and about in our lovely city over here. And that was largely just developing a huge chunk of real estate. We have built up a huge swath of city. We've upped our population significantly. We're up over 114,000. We're sitting on just south of 10 million in the bank, making more than $300,000 an hour. The number one way to make money in this game, with all of my tricks of building farms and building a dairy center and building more farms and building oil and trains and recycling plants, is increasing the number of people living in your city. The more people you got, the more money you make. The downside being, unfortunately, while this is a city builder, it is a city builder that uses up a lot of system memory, and the bigger your city gets, the slower the city will perform on your computer. So keep that in mind. I think the most I've ever packed into a city is about 300,000, which really makes me sad because I've got a pretty solid system. It's just this game eats computer strength like mad. And I touched on the last episode. But today is February the 5th, 2025. While we are running a vanilla build and using no mods whatsoever and using all the available DLC, I want to note that there seems to be a very big bug introduced in the last patch that is causing an overabundance of death. Yep, the specter of death has descended upon our city, and our crematorium system is absolutely struggling under it. I've got crematoriums everywhere, and yet still, we're still having more deaths a month than they can handle. This is abnormal. It shouldn't be working like this. It is working like this, and it is bugged. I'm trying to combat the bug as best as I can. Hopefully, by the time you see this, this bug will be fixed. Will it be fixed? I don't know, but we're hoping. Now, the name of the game today is to build up our harbor district, which is actually going to go right about in here, right dead center, right, pretty much right below this department store and this historic central station, because I want to make sure that we are really doing our best to make sure we have a good, solid, multi-stage transit hub coming in. Now, unlike Cities Skylines 1, there's a couple of important things that are missing. In CS1, if you had a harbor, you were packing in a ton of people every time a ship moved through. And in my experience, harbors just don't get used that heavily by your citizens. They just don't. You don't get the swarms of tourists in like you did in CS1. You're not getting in tons of people coming in by boat or by plane. The vast majority of the people entering your city coming in by car. Will that change as the system runs for a while? Yes, it will. As your city becomes attractive, you'll be attracting more people. For all intents and purposes, the regular harbor, the non-cargo harbor, is not going to generate very much traffic. Same thing even with your cargo harbor, like we have over here that we just put down for the sake of having it down. While this generates significant amounts of storage, you aren't having your entire city trying to unload the industrial zone at the port. And while traffic is important to keep in mind, it's not going to be the, oh my, we have to do everything that you did in CS1. With that said, though, it's a harbor. We're laying down a harbor. We're laying down a major mode of mass transit. I do want to make sure that it fits in very well with our other existing transits and transit options we haven't built up yet, such as subway. And we don't have any tram lines or bus lines running over here. The only thing we have right now is this historic station. Now, it's going to get some use, but this is sort of a multi-stage step over here. The one problem that is sticking out a little bit is that this thing is complaining about garbage piling up, and we've seen how that can go bad if we don't address it. Why is garbage piling up? Probably because if I had to guess, uh, this recycling plant up here is only focusing on these two districts. And hey, guess what? This is not in a district. And that's causing us a problem. So how do we want to go about fixing this? Do we want to include this into a district, or do we just want to go ahead and add an extra recycling plant down here? I'm picking the latter. We're going to first, before we do anything, is install a new recycling center down here. I will just go ahead and use the small one from the Japanese asset pack. It doesn't, I believe, have upgrades to it like the regular recycling center does. So this is going to be a one and done more than it's going to be a one and mod. But having it right here, while it will generate pollution and everything else like that. Oh, did I get it in the wrong spot? Did I? No, it's in the right spot. Can we get that 2-lane? Checking. Hang on. Okay, we're good. Having it down here first, it's going to be able to service this, and then it's going to have an easy export. Just people are going to be like, oh, hey, here's my recycling. The recycling centers will be like, hey, here, we're getting rid of it, and they're going to go drop it off at the port. So we can live with that, and I think that's the best solution we have for that particular problem. And let's further fix this problem by adding a node right here. Okay, all right, so that's done. We're good. Doesn't feel like we're lined up. Are we lined up right here? Checking. The game, for whatever reason, doesn't think these roads are lined up with that. I don't know why I'm not picking that fight right now. What we can go ahead and do, though, while we're building, is just go ahead and add some things down here by this port that are going to make this port area look a little bit more quote-unquote attractive. Things that aren't really going to matter too much, but we'll stick them in here half for decoration, half for the sake of having them. And I think we're going to start with right there, 2 small single-row parking lots. And nope, that one's not even going to fit. We'll slip in, just do a whole pedestrian access street, I guess, behind this. Except for that, because it just broke the road right there. By road, I mean zoning. And it broke it anyways. Unbelievable. I hate it when it does that. Okay. Well, if it's going to break it, may as well break it and keep it. But we will get rid of a crosswalk right there. Not necessary. Okay, we'll come back and tweak this whole area up a little bit more. Let's slip in some light commercial right over here. Maybe get a service station or two. Put in an additional square of industrial that's going to run square 2. Let that just fill in. Okay. And then I'm just going to set this to have no operating district. So not the most ideal. It's going to be servicing everything. Later we'll come back and we'll establish an operating district as we figure out this corner. Because I do have some plans for this corner. But not today plans. I think if I get distracted anymore away from this port, anybody who's watching this channel is going to murder me. So let's save, because I'm touchy after the number of times it crashed last round. And let's take a look at the port asset itself. That's going to be over here under mass transit, under water, and then under harbor. Now, if you take a look at this thing, this is not very much to look at. The biggest two concerns for it is the fact that it does require a road on the land like everything else does, and that it does have that sort of large oval, and that's going to connect up to our sea lanes much the same way that our cargo port did. But if you look at it, it is a lot smaller than our cargo port. It is, I mean, just on footprint size alone, it's maybe a quarter of the size of our total cargo harbor. Um, and water physics in this game get really difficult to deal with. So much so that we're going to be operating this largely in pause as we do this. So it's a good thing we've got significant amounts of money. The other good thing is that it doesn't cost us anything to use our terraforming tools for smoothing out land, which is the first thing that we're going to do, because I want this harbor to come down as flat on the edge as I possibly can. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to run that. Then I'm going to use a walking path, or walking path? No. I'm going to come over here. We're going to use an alley, I guess. We're going to line it up with our existing roads. We're not going to upgrade this. We're going to delete this later. So we're using our straight road tool. Keep this at 90. Just this, and this is how I started. Your mileage may vary. So then I'm going to right click with our level terrain tool in the water. As I bring this over, and I know that I'm going to want these two roads to mesh up. So let's go ahead. Okay, do the same thing again. Whoops, wrong tool. Back in the water, right click, then left click and drag, then right click the flatten terrain, left click and drag, and repeat as needed. My hands are personally a little shaky. I don't have the greatest use of my fingers for detail work. So we're getting this laid out as best as we can, and now suddenly we've actually got a flat, even spot. How awesome. Let's delete this road network. See what we got left over. Perfect. Okay. Then the next thing we do, of course, is just placing the harbor. It should stay even. Of course, should stay even and actually stay even are two entirely different things. You notice that there is a little bit of a ledge right there, and that ledge is going to be my personal nightmare right now. And it can be, listen, I'm going to be straight with you. It can be so very, very difficult to get water projects working in this particular game. It is a lot harder than it was in CS1. CS2, we don't have quays. We don't have any of the beachfront property assets or anything else like that that we used to have back in the day. And it makes our harbor districts a lot harder to beautify. It makes them harder to design, it makes them harder to set up, and honestly, I don't necessarily have the right imagination for it, which really makes me upset because I love to design waterfronts. The first major DLC for this game is over a year and a half late, and it's supposed to have waterfront stuff in it. And I'm very disappointed. I was expecting to have it by Christmas this year, and we didn't. It's now February. I'm hoping we'll get it March, April. I don't know. You know, maybe in a month when you see this video, we'll have it by then. But I have to be honest. It has been a major disappointment for me. But we're going to do the absolute best that we can with it. Starting with getting this laid out. Now, another thing we can do, which is entirely reasonable, is once we have an idea of roughly where it's going to be, is then to go ahead and put a guide road down and to make sure we stay on our 90-degree angles or whatever angle you're thinking of. So for me, this looks to be just about perfect. I think there is going to be as, well, no, there is not lined up at all, is it, when it comes to those other buildings. So we'll move it because we've got the money. Obviously, it's better not to spend the money if you don't have to, but I'm going to. All right, so now we've got it. We'll come back and fix, what is that, Myrtle Lane momentarily. Let's take a quick look at the upgrades our harbor gets. First one's going to be an extra pier. That's an automatic purchase as far as I'm concerned. There's no sense in having it if you don't already invest in it. It adds an extra $100,000 to the purchase. The second one is for a transit terminal. You can only build this if you have a bus terminal and a taxi depot available. Once you do, you can turn this part into its own little bus and taxi hub in and of itself, keeping you from having to build an additional bus station off to the side or something like that. So that itself is important. What it doesn't have, though, no subway interfaces, no rail interfaces. So our rail is right up there. Our subway interface, we just don't have one. We will have to put our very own subway station down here, and we're going to have to figure out what we want to do for our city subway in general. That part is later, but I'm going to go ahead and actually build a subway station here so I don't overbuild and accidentally be like, oh, I didn't mean to put this building here. I need to have something bigger and something larger. It's a pain, and it's not going to do any good. It's going to be one of those, hey, the city just invested $14 million into this building. They haven't done anything with it. I wonder why. We'll see. That's all I can say about that right now. All right, now let's take a look at our road network that we have down here before we do anything else, because we want to make sure we get this part right. This is a 6-lane, so let's go ahead and upgrade it to that. We lined it up on purpose for a reason. We'll go ahead and delete that last leg. That's not going to be as important. Now here, for obvious reasons, we're going to have it come out like this. And we're just being very careful with our upgrade tool. Now here, though, this is an 8-lane, and we're not going to keep it that way. So let's start by adjusting where our 8-lane is. That 8-lane can still exist, and we'll actually connect that 8-lane through here, but for this leg of it, doesn't need to be. Now let's go ahead and get rid of our remaining guide roads, that and that. Since we do have that 8-lane there, let's go ahead and grab the 8-lane divided road, set it there, drag it off, keeping our 90s. You know me and my 90 degrees. Okay, then this I'm going to want, first thing, I want to make sure that I've got my Quelling Gradient contour tool available, just to make sure that I'm not running up into a canyon or something. I'm going to spin it out to let's say there. Then I'm going to use my continuous tool. I'm going to keep the outer edge of this, which is where our zoning squares are going to be, close to the coastline if I can. Oh, that is beautiful. That's probably the best I've ever done that. And then we're going to bring it up into what this intersection is right now at the bottom of this teardrop interchange. I was giving a lot of thought to this, and I think this is going to go away soon and probably be replaced with another one of this style interchange up here next to, well, everywhere, these two major interchanges. I'm not sure yet. I haven't really decided, but I wouldn't get your hopes up for that to stay the way it is. I also wouldn't get your hopes up to have Sunnyside Street stay here because that turn makes me twitch and not in the channel name way. Okay, and I'm going to double check my curves here because that does not look like it's following a 90, does it? That does not look right. Something is very badly off over here. Let's double check. Okay. That's at 90, all right. Rechecking. We are at 90 all the way across there, but this roadway network is absolutely not. Huh. Wonder what's going on. Because we did do our lineups, and I just don't know. All right, let's take a look over here at these angled parking lots. So, 4-lane angled parking coming into this department store. We'll go ahead and keep that. We'll just let that stay this way, I think, all the way down. I'm sort of spitballing this by eye right now. Okay, got that. Still sort of looking at this. Now, as far as the harbor goes, we've done everything the harbor needs, with the exception of installing our passenger line tool. Let's go, or no, excuse me. We first have to hook it up to our seaway route, which is this blueness over here. We cannot hook it up to that corner unless we buy it, because otherwise it's saying we exceed city limits. Although we can slip it right in there, that should be okay. I don't see why that wouldn't. That automatically adjusted one lane going up in there. Now, let's get our seaway routes going. Where do we want this to go? Well, we use our passenger line tool. We select create a new route starting here. Just so happens we're already near an exit, which would be right there. Back, forth, done. We have our first shipping line. We'll do the same thing over here. Back, forth, done. Shipping and airlines in this game are the easiest because they do exactly that. Now, if we happen to own any of these other squares, we could run more routes. Well, not just these squares, but the squares along the seaway. We could connect these two routes to brand new routes that we ourselves could make. But we don't own those squares. I'm not going through the headache of it right now. And that is what it is. So, but we do now have our seaway route started for our harbor, which is really awesome. Let's take a quick look at our bus lanes while we're doing this, because I would like to go ahead and get our bus centers running, but as you note, and as I've mentioned, we don't actually have a bus line for downtown yet. No bus lines whatsoever. We just have the train and the tram. Did we get tram? We have the beginnings of a tram line coming down through here, but no bus lines. So as of right now, we're going to kind of ignore bus and we're going to ignore tram. I'm going to save. And we're just going to sort of let this run now while we start filling in the blanks over here. For a minute anyways, because what I want to show you guys is there are a couple of different ways to make fake key walls. Let's start by getting our height at about 2.5. Now, there are several methods to do this. I am going to show you probably the most complicated one. So we're going to start at 90 degrees off of this road, coming right down to the side of the harbor. We're using our large pedestrian street. And then we're going to creep up to 2.5 at a 90 degree. And you see why I'm saying this is difficult, because this is just complaining that it's in water. Yes, it is in water. That's the thing that happens when you put a road against the water. And it doesn't want to connect to that node right there because it says, but you're in water. Yes, we know. We all know we are in water. And it gets super, super frustrating. Nothing is honestly just as frustrating as this game going, your bridge is in water. No, Sherlock, of course our bridge is in the water. That's because it's a. All right. That said, there is a way to combat this. You just have to be careful. So let's start by trying to get this brought up as close as we can without getting that error, and we're flat on this. Now, let me pause. Let me come over down here. We're going to shrink our brush size down using our level terrain tool, selecting the water as our terrain height. Then we're going to kind of push this up in here. Now, there are a slew of different, very good methods you can do for this. This is just the method that I can get to work the most reliably. So once we have that torn, we set our height to 2.5, and it's still going to be a pain. Here's the other method. Here's the method that usually doesn't work for me, but we're going to try it. Right-click the top, then drag this out into the water, then right-click into the water, and if you do it right, if you do it right, sometimes you can get lucky and the water will not flow directly into the hole. I have the worst time getting that method to work correctly. So what I'm going to do here for this coastline is I'm going to set my road height to 2.75 off of the water. Carefully do our best to just sort of drag that over evenly. And this is the part that I absolutely dread when it comes to making key walls or any kind of water connection, because it shouldn't be this hard. It shouldn't be this hard. It shouldn't be this difficult. These nodes shouldn't be deforming the terrain this badly, and I don't understand. I think this may be the worst game I've ever worked with water physics for in terms of just setting up simple coastlines. We can try at a higher level. Looks like 3.5 is going to give us some good results. So we'll work with 3.5 instead of 2.5. Keeping at our 90s. Dropping down where we have to. So 3.75 is working for this side. And another way you run into problems is, in this case, I absolutely do want to have zoning all the way along the length of this wall. But hey, look, as we were setting that up, this whole section right here has decided, nope, we're too far above the ground on that side, and it's not letting us. So you have to get the level terrain tool, drag it over, reapply the node, hope you didn't drag the terrain too far out into the sea, and it just is such a headache, but we're doing our best. Okay, that looks like I fixed it fairly well. Okay, of course we do have to solve the same exact problem over here for as far out as we want to have a seawall walkway. For us, unfortunately, that's going to go all the way up here, but we don't have to do all of that right now when we're just focusing on leveling out this particular area. So let's just be a little... Don't give yourself more work than you absolutely have to. That is words of advice for this game, words of a life, words of advice for life too, if any of my younger friends happen to be watching. Guys, trust me, I'm 42, almost 43. I have a bald spot. I know what I'm talking about when I say don't make your life more complicated than it has to be. Trust me. I am old. Not that being old makes somebody automatically trustworthy. In fact, I would argue the opposite. But in this case, trust me. Especially when it gives you errors like, it's in water. Yeah, I know it's in water. Ugh. And especially even weirder when it's just like, but I have a slope of 3.5. Why are you complaining when you're the same exact height? And just weird, frustrating stuff. We're going to put the speed up to 3 really quick to see if it adjusts some of that. Yeah, it's a little bit better. Okay, I'm just going to let this walkway come all the way over here for right now. And then we'll have to come back in the future, make some adjustments over here. I don't know if that's by putting in changing this from a walkway to a 2-lane. I don't know. I don't care. I don't know. I don't care. Not right now. We will, however, go ahead and take this 6-lane and allow it to come down the rest of the way into that walking center. So, what do you put by a harbor? That's the magical question that we have to answer now. We're going to start by saving the game because I really want to. Because for all intents and purposes, we have a functioning harbor over here. We have absolutely no passengers coming in on that yacht. I didn't click on that yacht fast enough. And we have no passengers waiting. It will take a little bit for these lines to activate, and to be fair, we have had the game in pause for a while as we're fighting the water physics. Oh, I didn't fight the water physics fully enough. On this side, I'm going to grab our one-way small pedestrian street, sort of drag it down and pray, come on. Yeah, that's good enough. It didn't make a seawall. I would have preferred a seawall. So let's try to make it a seawall. And fair warning, cruise ships are loud in this game, so if you happen to have your headset on as you're adjusting stuff next to it, you might give yourself a headache. Not that I would know anything about that. I really want you elevated. Come on, 3.5 is tall enough. That should give me an elevated roadway right there. Why must you be like this? Okay, hey, look, that's kind of working, I think. Nope, it's obsessed with that node being in the water and this node being too high to connect to that road. Unblessedly. What is wrong with you? Okay, I'm only giving this just another minute. Yeah, because that definitely is in the water right there. I'm not gonna lie. That's wild, wild wet right there. Okay, that was completely my fault. Okay, somehow I got that fixed, and I honestly don't know how, but we're not guessing, we're not judging, we're just gonna roll with it, okay? All right, we are gonna see if we can't upgrade. We're gonna take off all of our guideline markers. Okay, we're good. We're good for right now, I think. Okay, not gonna complain. All right. Just checking. Oh, that one's actually got 30 people coming in. So we do have people coming in. We do have people starting to come around. So what do we have here so far? We've got a rail station that does not have any subway nodes itself. Double checking, but I'm pretty certain it does not. Tram, subway. Nope, no subway of any kind. Then we do have one major building right here for department store with some perks to it, but it's not. I mean, it does have an attractiveness of 96, which is just under what our total maximum attractiveness is supposed to be. So that itself is good. So, what fits in by a harbor? Well, for that, we would be considering dense commercial. We would consider some office zones around the area, which would also make sense. I would say that we would consider some of our signature buildings for maybe our mixed use commercial residential, but you have to keep in mind this thing does produce a lot of noise pollution. While it's only marked as medium, honestly, just being close to this thing sort of gives me a headache. So, residential, not the greatest idea to put here, even when some of the buildings look like they would sort of fit, but not these. All right. Of course, some of the larger residential buildings, like maybe the UK city apartments, would work. I wouldn't say a mansion, small building like that, maybe. Um, if you have any of the major unlockables unlocked, like the Watanabe Tower or the Grass Crown or the Colossal Tower, those would absolutely fit over here with no problems. In terms of look and style, in terms of functionality, you'd be giving your residents a headache. Take a look at what we got over here for additional commercial signature buildings, and most of these are pretty small, like things like the Fox Inn or the Five Star Country Hotel or the Church Inn and Bistro. I mean, these would be good ideas if they looked 1,000 times bigger. The next biggest thing that we have unlocked that we haven't put down, in our case, is the department corner building, and we have a giant department store right there, so that's out. What I would say, we'll be going under Parks and Recreation. We're going to go over to tourist attractions, see what fits over here, and the first thing that catches my eye is the Modern Art Museum. Now, let's be real for a second. Putting a modern art museum in real life right next to the harbor would probably result in a custodian beating the ever living out of you for breaking the art pieces. I live on a river where there is heavy barge traffic, and that stuff, even when it's about a half mile away from my house, makes my walls bounce, and I'm not joking. So while it's going to look cool, keep that in mind. In the real world, you wouldn't necessarily see that. The observation tower, on the other hand, we talked about where we were going to install this after we put in this big tower up here. So this is definitely something that is going to come in over here next to our harbor, and I think would be a spectacular addition to anything we install. Finally, we do have some choices over here in terms of our actual landmark section, such as the Grand Hotel, but I prefer this to go next to airports. We do have some government building style things we can invest in, which would look really good over here in our downtown-ish area. Now, these include the National Diet Building, which is the home of the Japanese legislature in the real world, or maybe, let's see, the National Gallery of Art, but like the modern art gallery, kind of, I'd punch you. But it does have this very sleek, this very strong look. Unfortunately, it doesn't fit, so that's out. Other option, the gigantic Ferris wheel. I feel like the Ferris wheel is a good thing that we can just sort of build around down here, near rail, near water, near basically everything. It would be a great addition to our riverfront, and it would allow our visitors to see right off into well, everything that's coming in and out of town, to the extent that I'm tempted to remap our road decorations. So, what do we pick? And this is, or the botanical garden fits, but it's awfully small and doesn't have the same amount of gravitas as some of these other buildings do. Now, keep in mind, landmarks are expensive. Most of these are around or more than 5.6 million. Well, more than 5 million is what I'm trying to say. Those are the words coming out of my mouth. Of all of these, the observation tower fits perfectly right here, and it's likely going to be the one that I'm going to pick. But I may go with two. I'm undecided yet. So, what I do want to check first, though, is our subway system. And we can't build any of our subway systems without first building the subway yard. Of course we can. So it's not going to let me take a look to see what things like our elevated subway stations or the rest would even look like until we happen to build our subway yard. Much like the rail yards, so we have up here, subway yard is what it says it is. It is a yard where we're going to be sticking all of our subway cars as they get ready to come out to launch. Now, where do we put this? I I kind of have this idea for development for this corner, this whole area up here. Um, and a subway yard would fit in fairly well. It's just going to be a case of getting to manage it around all the rail yard over here and getting things put in the right locations. Because I kind of want to just stick it right about here, but I'm not sure that I can get away with it. Same thing if it were to come over here. I think, unfortunately, that my initial idea to move it in here is not really going to work, and I'm going to end up just sort of pushing it in up here. With the downside being that that's going to eat up where we had planned to expand our tram system. But knowing that we are going to expand our tram system to install new lines coming down this direction, we know we're going to need more tram depots, and I don't want more than 4 tram depots, 6 at the very, very most. So let's just take a look and go ahead and do some advanced planning because we do have the money and we are certainly making enough. Looks like that. What is that? I wish when you clicked on a road it would tell you what it actually is. It doesn't. It does not tell me what that road type is because it looks like it's a alley. Angled parking alley. Yep, I was right. It is. Okay. Let's get all of our snapping back on. I want this to come down just nice and even. Done. Okay. What road type was over here? There is no road type over here. These 2 tram depots are back to back against each other. Okay, that's fine. Now let's go to our trams, our tram depot. Go ahead, get it installed. Now we know. And we all know what knowing is. If you were an 80s child, use a 2-lane road for back here. Well, technically 4. Hey there, Ryoko. We just built our harbor. We are making a semi-expansion in terms of our tram network because I want to see how much room I have for our subway yard, which is not something that I am actually going to use right now, but we have to build a subway yard before we can build any subway stations. And I need to know how much room I need for subway stations before I figure out what else I want to build around the harbor. So yeah, this is sort of almost feels like the ADHD simulator, the game. You start one task and you end up jumping on to 5 others before you have any idea what you're actually doing. It's positively wonderful. Okay, and I'm gonna do a couple of once you have enough money you can play around, there are some very easy things you can do to sort of cheat with your layouts. We're going to do one of them right now. So I am going to place this subway yard roughly about there, I think, because that's going to give me some room to drag those lines down. Then we'll go ahead and put our extensions on this because I want to know how much room they're going to take. Looks like the extra tracks just... Where did the extra tracks go? Oh, okay, I see it. Installing extra tracks puts extra tracks on the back, which unlocks more lines, additional 5 vehicles. Legend of Zelda, yeah, is ADHD heaven. I feel that way so much about Skyrim. So many times. So, I mean, I get you. And with this, too. I really do. Because I can sit down and spend hours building on these. As it is right now, we've already spent almost an hour building on this. All right, the next option is the maintenance hall. Now, the maintenance hall can go on either side of this, but let's be realistic. It says we can put this anywhere here within the blue. Well, okay, but we do have more subway lines, so do we want to put it where the blue is? I don't know if that's a viable decision for us or not, so probably not. It's going to be my assumption. So let me go ahead and just slide it just in the back of this thing. We'll call it a day. All right. Now it looks like we can all get. Can we get away with more than one maintenance hall? Huh. I guess we can. Um, but it's not gonna do anything that I'm aware of. Okay. Oh, hey, that's wonderful. We have our new fuel plant signature building just unlocked as we were playing around. That's great news. Okay, I was hoping that would happen when we put in this little bit of extra industry down here. So let me jump over to that in a minute. Let's finish the project we're starting first. Fuel plant, just so you know, is the industrial signature building, and it's over here. It gives you +2 industrial efficiency citywide, so all of your industrial buildings will be generating more profit, which is better for you all the way around. Plus, it decreases the air and ground pollution for the city by 5% each. Hey, anything that reduces pollution in this game is a good thing. Just keep this in mind just all the time. All right, now I said there was sort of a way we can cheat with this, because I don't want this station facing the road this way. But I have no had honestly had no idea how much room this was going to take up. So let's build it, set a road directly behind it, and then we're going to flip it around. And flipped. And now I'm going to see if I can't build a second subway yard while we have a crap ton of money. Even though, because we're going to need it. Just, I know we're going to need it. I know we're going to have it. And I know I'm going to want it. So I'm going to build it. Oh, I couldn't have got that more perfect if I tried. Okay. However, you notice these are all complaining because, as it turns out, this road that I just sort of threw down there is not actually connected to anything, and we do want to make sure it's got something. Okay. Saving. Okay. Just as you know, PSA, these two road segments are going to go away in the future. All right, and for right now, I don't care about these buildings. We're not attaching a subway system up yet. We're just putting them down because the game is making us put them down. Because of course it is. And it's making us put them down because I want to build a subway line, and I want it to be one of the elevated or overground. So let's take a quick look at our subway stations really fast. And our choices are kind of limited. Most of them start with a default of 2 subway platforms. The elevated subway platform has 4, but it does require that the lines be above ground, which, I mean, that makes sense. It's in the word elevated. The modern metro also is an above ground station. The overground subway station is also above ground. You have to keep in mind, though, the difference in terms here. When we talk about an overground subway station, the subway line itself is on the ground. When we talk about, say, an underground subway station, the line is under the ground. You just have the building's footprint. And then when we talk about small elevated or elevated subway station, the lines are in the air. It's an important distinction to make. The other distinction to make with a small subway station is these will fit over top of certain roads. They don't fit the greatest on 6 lanes. However, they are practically designed to fit over top of 8-lane divided roads. This can be really helpful when you're building in a major downtown area or in an area you're expecting to be a major transportation hub. Like, I don't know, an area between a harbor, a department store, a rail line, and eventually a tram system. Hmm, don't know why that would be helpful. So let's just go ahead and slot that in right there. We'll go ahead and shut it off as well, so it's not costing us money as it operates. And with this, it automatically installs a crosswalk here with lights that, well, you know what a crosswalk does. But your citizens will be just sort of walking in the middle of the street, climbing up into this thing, and going about their merry way off into wherever. It's great if you have a large, heavy urban district with a lot of 8 lanes. But as you've seen with things we did for the rail line, sometimes when you install these over road rail or subway lines, the game can get really glitchy really fast, especially then when you look into situations like it doesn't want to go over top of roundabouts or anything else. And speaking of, what in the name of all is going on down here? What is this? What are you people doing? Why are you blocking traffic there? Is the game on pause? No, the game is on go. What is happening? This game does not have peaceful protest mods installed. What are you idiots doing? You're all congregating right there. Why has traffic stopped? Something has screwed up massively somewhere, and I don't know what it is. Like, all of our tram lines have frozen. The traffic has blocked. What did we do? Uh, okay. Like, the game is acting like it's at a complete standstill. I've broken the city spectacularly in this area. I don't have the first idea how. Okay, I just hit a button to install a crosswalk there. And that freed that chunk of people. Okay, that's that, but what's going on down here? Let's turn that from a stop light to a stop sign. See if that unfreezes traffic. Kinda, but they're all completely freaking out. Let's cheat a little down here. We'll go to our 8 lane, and I'm just gonna expand that just to sort of force the traffic to wake up. And then up here, something bad has happened at this intersection. Let's change it from stop light to stop sign, and that woke the simulation up a little bit. Same thing there, stop light to stop sign. And again, we just have that massive unloading of people right there. That's so bizarre. And it's hung up right here, too. Okay. Well, we're going to say that's a new glitch and go about our lives, I guess, and hope that that unbroke it to some extent. But right now, this entire tram system has frozen, which is causing everything to choke. Okay, so we've managed to, I think, unbreak the traffic jam there. It looks like that was, yeah. No, we haven't even started building the subway lines. I do not have any idea what could have caused all that to freak out that way. But some node somewhere just completely stressed out and shut everything down up that direction. Wow. Okay then. uh no, I think I've got it everything unfrozen, so all right, we're just going to live with this and see. We'll go visit that again in 5 minutes. I'm shooketh. But if anything, that tells me the need for us to actually get around to installing our subway system, which we'll do the next time I stream. I had plans for other things to do the next time we streamed that didn't involve laying out the subway system, but it looks like that we need to do that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm going to go ahead and save in a separate file. 2-1. Although it's it's just a broken node somehow, and when one node broke down, it froze everything up, which caused the rest of the nodes, and now all of these trams are stopping at their tram stop like they're supposed to, which is in turn backing up traffic. That's annoying. All right, we've attempted to fix it as best as we possibly can, and we're gonna leave it alone, just for now. Sometimes all you can do is tweak, tweak, tweak a few times, and then run away. Run far away. Okay, so in preparation of the subway line, let's take a look at what else we can put over here. And I did say that we wanted to install a large building. And Okay, Ryoko, you're over here. I'm gonna let you tell me what you think we should stick over here. Are three options that'll fit. One is the very large observation tower, which will fit perfectly in this square right here. So we'll have harbor, subway station, department store, train station. Or, or we can slip in the Modern Art Museum, which is a nice square building that will fit in over here. And then beside it, we'll be able to slip in a office building like the round office, which is only going to take up that much space. Or, or we could install the Ferris wheel, which doesn't quite fit over here. Well, it fits right there perfectly right next to the harbor and subway. Or we could stick it over here on our waterfront if we wanted to take the gamble of that, just to have that be a little bit off to the side. Or maybe off to the side. This side will be a little better, maybe. Maybe just do a whole waterfront kind of thing down here. Um, or, or could do like a large Capitol style building, slip it in somewhere over here next to all this terrain. So, what do you think? Should we do the large Capitol style building over here? Fill this just in with standard commercial? Should we do our Ferris wheel? Or should we do the observation tower? In terms of benefits, they're all going to have the same benefits. So that's not really a big question itself. What do you think? There is the option of doing everything. So option C of everything it is. So dead center right over here, we're going to slip in the observation tower. All right, fill in that space. Then we'll come over with our small pedestrian streets up here right at the intersection, right up following the edge of this building. We'll just lead them right up. And again, these one-way markers don't matter for the pedestrians. They'll walk both ways. It only matters for the service vehicles walking back and forth. Oh, wait a minute. We have to see if that's going to break. Let's get our double subway stack. Okay, that let us do that. Whew, I was afraid for a second. There was fear. There was so much fear. What overlapping items? We have justified fear. Come on. Oh, crap. Broke it. We broke it again. Come on, let me break just that. Let me delete that. Gonna make me delete. Oh, it's not even letting me delete the subway system right there. Oh, for crying out loud. And this is the issue where it comes to using these elevated buildings. Okay. Pausing. Nope, it's all married itself into that broken node. Okay, so seriously, straight up, it's my advice not to use the elevated buildings in this game. It creates more of a headache than you're going to want to really deal with. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. So we're not going to be using that elevated subway platform that goes over the road like there, like we should be able to, because of how easy it breaks the nodes even in the vanilla game. That's just pathetic. All right, so got rid of that. we did fix all of that, so we're good over there. Come back down here. Take a look at our subway options a second time. We're going to get a lot of use out of this area. So I'm going to go ahead and flip in the large multi-platform elevated subway station right over here. I do think that's going to be our best use. The question is, which side of the road do I want to put it on? We're going to go, of course, for this side since we do want to have that observation tower go in right over there. Okay, wow, my phone is blowing up. Okay. And none of those are things that I'm going to talk about on this stream, or else I will never get affiliate status. Okay. Let's try this again. All right. So, sorry about that, guys. This is just something that you need to be aware of. This game does have some parts that just don't work as well as they should, or at all. And that's just unfortunately one of them. All right, but back to pedestrian. We're going to get our pedestrian street in. Follow the building. We'll have at least one of these going that direction, so we sort of create a circle. Go ahead and run one of these paths around the back as well. That will decrease us down to 2 units of zone development right there, but that's fine. Let's go ahead and zone in some light shops right there while we're here. That tree's gonna go away. Bye, tree. All right, then over here we'll zone in some medium density, or no, some high density commercial. That's not going to develop the way that we want it to. It's not. Hang on a second. Let's play around with our pathways. Just to do our forced zoning like we've done a dozen times before to get our zoning cells where we want them to be. There we go. Those should all face Kent Street on that side. And we'll have to do the same trick over here. Oh, and we had a bot briefly appear in the channel. Thank you. No, and honestly, you're very right about that. You do make some good points. You know, for those of you who can't read her chat, what she's suggesting is that we have something like the Space Needle for the view for the moms, the Roman Empire Museum for dad, and the Ferris wheel for the kids. And she's completely right. Like, having multiple tourist attractions all in one area really is an outstanding idea for city development of any shape or size. The only... I try to be, let me rephrase that. We're only allowed to build one building, one instance of the buildings for all of our landmarks. So I can only have one water park. I can only have one modern art museum. I can only have one instance of Notre Dame. That makes sense. But one water park, please. Sandusky, Ohio's got like 4 in one particular, 3-mile area. It's kind of thing that bugs me, and I don't get it, but it's a game thing, and it's okay. We make the most of it. Okay. All right, let's finish getting some of our zoning set up down here. Now all of these commercial zones should face Birdsong Street, if that goes correctly. Except for that, which isn't going to let me, so we'll stick in a 2-square parking garage right there. Okay. Oh, except that's up against a pedestrian street, not an actual road. All right, that'll fix that though. Then before we start getting a lot of cars parking on these streets, let's just tweak them. I hate that. I hate that roadside parking in this game is such a constant. So let's upgrade it with adult palm trees because we deserve palm trees in our city. We haven't had palm trees pop up anywhere in the city yet. We're going to force that here. Ooh. Okay. If you put palm trees on a street where you are set up with um, angled parking, it will delete the parking. Just so you know, as we just discovered, I knew that and I forgot that. Now on 8-lane divided, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but you can actually put the palm trees in that divided median for something that looks a little bit different. So driving down Rodeo Drive, I think it's Rodeo Drive, is it Rodeo? And you've got palm trees. Driving down Grand Central, you get trees in the middle of one of our main roads here in my hometown. It just looks nice. Okay, since we can't run train tracks down them, we'll run trees. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Didn't even realize we could do that, honestly. All right. Palm trees all the way down there, too. Okay, cool. We got some prettiness going. Okay, so we filled in dense commercial over here, light commercial right there. We're not touching anything up here because we'll need to run our subway lines coming up through there. Now let's take a look at an additional park of some kind. We're going to go for a large park. Sports park, probably not so much because we don't have stadium parks. Grand City Plaza is too big to fit over here, and if I remember correctly, we do have a community city park up there, which sort of is the same thing. It's close. This is just a slightly smaller version. So, I mean, it would fit in very well over here, and may be worth going to go ahead and install anyways, just down this way, even though there's another instance of one up there. In fact, I think it fits in so well that I'll go ahead and maybe install it. The other options that would work really well here, would be the large plaza. That actually stretches from one point to another right in this area. We'll slip that in right about there. Now, will that... Oh, no, it doesn't because of that stupid fence. Okay, well, still it's better than nothing. Then looking at our other park options. Passage parks are useful when you can get them to work because they actually do have a pass that goes all the way from point A to point B. So it goes end to end, and if you can get it to fit exactly on a block, you're golden. Doesn't look like we can get it to fit it exactly on any of these blocks, though, so that's an inconvenience. Unless... So it's very close right over here to fitting. I'm going to flip off our snapping tools and see if we can. Is that going to be close enough to... No, it's not. So close, yet still tweaking. Tweaking, still posting an error. Nope, error. No error. Okay. So we can slide that right there. It's going to prevent us from putting anything of note back here on this side, though, because of the way we set up that wall. Ugh, words are hard, guys. Okay, parking. Do we want to install an additional parking lot down here? Probably. I hate to admit it, so let's go over here to our parking section. I don't know if I would ever put my car in a parking building next to a harbor right against the shore. But that's just me. I honestly don't know. As it turns out, though, the overground parking building is way too big. The underground parking building is just not feasible. But this style building does fit in that little lot spot we gave it. So let's go ahead and slip two of them in there. We will, as always, have a traffic headache right there, but we'll live. And then we'll put in some dense commercial right there beside it. Go ahead and fill in dense commercial on both sides of this plaza. Like that'll be good. And I think we'll just go ahead and fill up this whole square right here with dense, except for this little spot right here. We're going to turn off of all of our snapping to make sure that we can arrange our room just right. Bring this down. Whoops, bring that down too far. Hey, can I check my mic placement? Is that a little bit better? I think I had it messed up from the last time I used it. Okay, turning on our snap to 90-degree angles, because you know how I am with my 90s. Okay, trying a little bit better that way. Oh, you've barely been able to hear me all night. Oh, that's not good. I hope everybody else had. Let me up my microphone audio. Okay. Okay, so now I've upped that on my end, and here's hoping that works. Okay, so let's go over here with tile surface 1. Inside this little square area we've made. That'll do. Okay, and then we'll come over here to our props. So this is going to be right behind a whole bunch of commercial buildings, so it's not going to be anything too major. I would say put in some trash cans. Putting in a few kiosks. Maybe not that one. Okay, a little out of the way. Little shopping area for employees coming over, wanting a bit of a lunch break. Then we'll go ahead and scatter some additional. Well, we really don't have places to put additional stuff. So let's start the game back up, see what develops. See what fills in and where. Here we go. That does, taking some drinks. And we've used up all of our commercial demand with all of a sudden dropping in a whole bunch of commercial buildings, so we'll just have to wait and see what fills in. It may take it a couple of minutes. All right, over here next to this shopping center, though, I'm going to place down a few squares of high-density office. So we're going to have a couple of skyscrapers pop up over here. Right behind the observation tower and right beside our subway station. I think that's going to be really awesome for a lot of people. And this is why I said the harbor takes a lot of time to get right, because look at all we've done. We've put in parking. We've put in parks. We've zoned in commercial. We've zoned in some extra parks. We've set up the basics of a uh, mass transit hub. We had to install our basics for our subway system that we haven't done anything with. We've just, built them so we know what they are. And of course, we did have that bizarro traffic nightmare that popped up for no apparent reason. That was up over here, and it's still. What are we stalling out on? Are we stalling out, or is it just the trams? Okay, let's take a close look at these roads, because something about these roads isn't meshing up. We've got... Oh, I see what's happened. Where we put the tram stops in, the tram is taking up an entire lane of traffic. I don't know if there's anything that we can do about that. Double public transit lane, 2 road lanes going in opposite directions. Can we add that over here? To make a difference with our tram line. I don't know if that will change anything or not. I really don't have a clue. Doesn't... No, it doesn't really look like it. So I'm assuming 1-lane transit lines won't do anything either. But yeah, that's where this hang-up is. There's a tram stop right here that seems to be slowing down all of the tram stops for reasons I don't understand. Alright, that's worth going back and taking another peek at in the future. But that's the future, that's not right now. And I just want to see what's going to come in and be part of our developments down here. While that does pop up and we are moving at 2 speed, let's go ahead and move up at 3. Let's go ahead and start thinking about where we do want these subway lines to go. So these are elevated, so that's 10 meters up, excuse me, off of an elevated platform, I believe. Whoops, wrong button. Yeah, it is a 10-meter height difference on that, so we know more than likely this subway line's going to have to come out all that far before it can cycle up to up here. But does this line have to... Here's the thing you have to keep in mind. This line does not have to connect to these directly. This is much like our rail lines up here, where we just have our rail coming in for our trains to get onto the train tracks. It just has to exist. It's not technically part of our rail network. Our rail network sort of runs around it. It just has to be attached into it for it to work. Just to keep that in mind. But I want to make sure that I don't accidentally build a building over here where this subway line is running. That's my concern at the moment. And same thing over here. We're going to be dunking these lines underground, more than likely. But it's going to take them a significant amount of running room to have a slope to get them down to ground level, and then from ground level off into the underground. So let's go ahead and drag them over because it's going to fill in all of that. And this is just so that we can have some site visualizations right now to know what's going to work, what isn't, how we're going to manage. Okay, so we've done that. That handles our site issues for all intents and purposes. We've got some pretty good developments going on here. So if you look, this filled in really good. This is a great building right here that popped up for us, right between the 2 mid-level parking garages. Excellent. And these commercial buildings seem to be fairly reasonable for right over here next to our harbor. And we're filling in these spots as well. I think all of this is going to look great. Okay. Question is, how popular are our lines so far, and 21 passengers on line 1. And 130 passengers on line 2. So we do have some passengers, just not a ton. It's unfortunate. It is what it is. We'll take a look though and see if that increased our rail traffic any. It did. We started with 15 passengers waiting over here, 15 people using this line. That's now jumped up to at least 107 just that we can eyeball. So that's good because it is putting this to use finally. All right. What's next for us? Well, looking at all these error messages, I'd still say we've got some problems with our healthcare up here that I don't understand, because we have enough healthcare facilities that we shouldn't have a problem. This building is screaming about low supplies, which it shouldn't be, because we do have enough supply lines coming into it. But thankfully, our traffic snarl has cleared up. Yeah, there are at least 2 building glitches we can get rid of. These parish church graveyard extensions are obscenely expensive at 130,000 aside. We are, however, making 325,000 a game hour. Let's just go ahead and fill those spots in. Just solve that. And there's the other one that's like that. That was Parish Church 1. There was a second Parish Church that had that same error, and I must have already fixed it, because my eyes just ain't seeing it. Okay. All right, cool. Well, at least that's one error light we can fix. Oh, is that it right there? Nope, that's the low supplies. There is a building we can build soon that'll help assist that. All right, there was also this glitch up here that we did weeks ago, literal real-time weeks ago. And I want to make an effort to fix it right now. So I'm going to extend this 4-lane road right here, a couple of feet, pause the game, spend some money just lining things up a little bit better. I think that's right. And we're going to select our water sewage treatment plant. We're going to bring it down to take off-road snapping first, because it's not letting me slip that into the corner the way I want. I guess we're going to turn road snapping back on. Okay, fine, bite me. Okay, we're going to slip that right there. Looks like the extra garage for the bus depot can stay exactly where it is. Now, finally, we can come over here, delete that road, come up here. We don't need to build this extension, but I am going to build it anyways, just for the sake of having it built. Going to create an alleyway. That is apparently not going to fit right there. It's going to run from the edge of the rail track right behind these buildings. 2, 3. I'm going to come over to our surface tools, select concrete, or better yet, just sort of drag the edge of that. Get some industrial zonage. Fill in. finish filling in. Oh, screw it. We'll just go ahead and cover all that. That was a little bit overkill because I want to go ahead and put in. Let's see, can I install any more of these? Nope. Nope. That's going to be it. If we leave that filtration plant right there, and we're going to. And there, that sort of evens all of that out, makes that look a little bit better, I think. Although I'm going to move this recycling plant down again. I'm going to take our alley tool a second time. Or an alleyway right behind those two plants. Move the bus depot itself over. Oh, fit right to that edge. We're good. Is it telling me that there's not enough room for parking right there when there is plenty of room right there? Why does it think that that whole building fits up that much space? It doesn't. What is going on? The game doesn't even know what is going on. Okay, whatever. Alright. Delete that. For once, we're going to delete a roundabout. Must be a positioning thing. Let me try to... Oh, that was 91, not 90. Yep, I'm fighting the game over a matter of a handful of tiny pixels. That's what I do when my desire to get things flush absolutely gets the best of me. It has officially gotten the best of me. And not in the attractive way. I'm spending money like a mofo over here because this is driving me nuts. Right there, please. Get a parking garage. Layout right over here, please. Huh. Yeah, only thing I can think of is that the game... you know what? I can't even think of a reason why. It's letting me run a path through there, so I don't know why it's not letting me build parking lots or whatever else. Okay, it doesn't matter. It literally does not matter in this case. It's just me sort of trying to fill in stuff here and there, make things look a little bit more attractive, but if the game doesn't want to let me, the game doesn't want to let me. How dare I try to, you know... Whatever. Yeah, and that's the dangerous whispered whatever. So keep that in mind. All right, moving on. We can fill in a little bit more over here, though. We can drag that concrete over to the edge of the road, then come over to industrial props. Look for things you would think that is a bus garage right there that we've been playing with. So looking for things that might fit next to a bus garage in the industrial prop section. And I feel like a line of safety cones, maybe. And some assorted crates, spools, stacked cable spools, things of that nature, and a small pile of barrels. Just to sort of give it some life, I think. Fit him back through there. That should be good. Okay. Yeah, the game is currently cosplaying a Bethesda title. All right, we're gonna leave it at that, so I don't insult my other overlords. Okay, okay. I think that honestly looks a lot better. But while we're over here, let's take a look at our recycling center and see if it needs to have any tweaks to it. It can have the hazardous waste recycling point added, which I think would look kind of cool if it'll let me fit it up over here. Fitting in, this doesn't fit terribly at all. And storage extension. Storage extension is going to I wish I could stick it right here, but if I do, it's going to break those industrial buildings, and I think I'd just rather have the extra industrial. Well, no, because that leaves me with way too much empty space, so we'll just break them and cough it up to progress, I guess. Okay, we'll do that. That just sort of breaks everything. But hey, now we've got enhanced storage speed and a whole bunch of other perks going on around here. So that's good for everybody involved in the city. Anything that we can do that's going to increase the efficiency of our recycling plant is not a bad thing at all. And like I said, when we started this stream, the intention was for me to show you how to get to profit. And I did. I showed you how to get to profit. Now I'm showing you how to spend your profit. I like to keep things neat and tidy and organized and compact and situated right where they're supposed to be. I am a little bit of a control freak in certain aspects of my life. And this is just one of those ways where I can express my desire to have things be well and situated in parallel and organized in a way that makes visual sense to me. So how you design things are going to be completely up to you. Okay, so that gives us, I like the looks of this industrial park a lot better now. I really do. Just the visuals, the organization, all of it. Just, it feels like it flows so much better, and I'm much happier with it. We don't need that. Okay. That did come out very cool. And as a bonus, we have increased our processing speed and increased the amount of stored garbage this thing can handle any given time. Plus, we'll have some brand new industrial buildings popping up back over here, making us a little bit more money to offset some of our costs. Cool. Still ignoring the subway. We are not working on the subway tonight. No. No, bad Josh, bad. No subway for you. Okay, so let's take a peek over at the other signature building we did unlock today. And that's going to be the fuel plant. That's something I do want to install before we end our stream because our stream time is coming to an end. We've been at this now for about an hour, 45 minutes, but we've gotten a lot done it's just gonna be good for the future of our city. Future of society. No, that's the other city game. Okay, so fuel plant, you may object to this, and you'd have every right in the world to, but I want to stress again I live in West Virginia. I live in a place that's literally called Chemical Valley. We actually had a chemical spill in the water in the Ohio River several years ago that completely shut off the drinking water availability for the capital of the state. And then a good chunk of the country laughed at us, saying, well, that's what you get. And yeah, it is. So we're going to recreate at least the chemical storage part of that being on the river. And the other reality is it's not that uncommon to have large industrial plants by a large body of water because well, not most, but a large number of different plants do require a large volume of water. Things like power stations require large volumes of water for steam. Things like chemical plants require large volumes of water to be filtered and cleaned and prepared for whatever chemical their plant is making. You know, do we like the environmental effects of it? No. Is it realistic? Yes. So where's a good spot for it? That's going to have that same sort of, generalized impact, visual impact. I would say we can add on this right about back over here. And then I'm going to flatten down the river a little bit, I think. Let's install this by roadway. We'll use a 4-lane road coming off of our 6-lane off of that bridge. Bring this over. Such a beautiful beach. I hate to pollute it. Oh well. Then we'll just slop it right over here in the bay. Okay. Just putting it down is enough to activate all the effects, and that may just be what we do. So this thing says it requires grain. It's going to make petrochemicals. Cool. It's going to employ a good chunk of people, though, almost 500. So we're looking at workspace for 412 people. Hey, that's a good thing. Does have ground air and noise pollution. So some of that will equate into water pollution. We'll just sort of keep an eye on this. There is a building that we have in our arsenal that is going to help us counteract all of that in the future. And as a perk, since that was a signature building, it didn't cost us a bloody thing to put down. So we have that going for us. All right, as a reminder, our other industrial buildings are still locked. Switch on, which is something we want, requires 100 level 5 industrial manufacturing buildings. We're only sitting at 54. Then pharma, which we're going to be building sooner rather than later, I hope, requires a medical university to be placed before it'll become active. And finally, the oil refinery requires both a technical university and 10,000 cells of industrial manufacturing buildings, of which we're only about a little bit more than halfway there. Finally, the chemical plant takes 8,000 cells, so we're getting close to that. The paper factory and the ground earth both require hub buildings for forestry and mining, respectively. Those are on the list of things we do want to add sooner rather than later. But for right now, I'm just going to be happy saying that we do have petrochemicals coming into our city. Plus, as a perk, again, minus 5% industrial air pollution, minus 5% industrial ground pollution. You can find your pollution information under your info tab, then ground. Our average ground pollution is very good, but it's keeping in mind the whole city, in all the tiles that you have. You can tell right over here where we've got our recycling center, our power plant, and our vehicle factory, as well as a mix of typical industry. The ground pollution is absolutely ridiculous, super toxic, and forever chemicals. And then we got similar problems over here, again with the recycling center and all these level 5 industrial buildings, plus pollution from our fracking and oil and the industrial buildings we have over here. It's just cost of the game. As far as air pollution goes, average air pollution is 0, but again, it's focusing on all of this. But you notice how much air pollution is coming out of this and it's spreading over here. This was why I told you we don't want to build our industrial sites right next to residential, and we do want to follow where those arrows are going at any given town. Oh, you got tackled by an orange kitty? That's adorable. Okay. Uh, Moving on from there, you can also see some places where traffic gets really bad is where you start developing air pollution and things like that. So here, where our traffic has come to a standstill for no apparent reason, we are generating pretty significant air pollution. And the question is, why has our traffic come to a standstill again? What's blocking it? Let's take a look. They're all trying to merge into one lane right here for... Why? And then they're trying to come over here, but they're freezing. Why? Because of this weirdness with the tram stations. What in the crack? Oh, let's replace the stoplight with a stop sign, and suddenly everything's moving again. On all of those. And it's blocking our hospital. Holy crap. This is just so weird. I do mention that I hardly ever use trams because while they handle a lot of mass traffic, sometimes they act weird in this game. And this seems to be an incidence where they're acting super weird. And you can see the game's actually despawning some of this traffic because it doesn't know what to do with it. I think I just saw a whole bunch of recycling trucks vanish because they're being hung up by this. Well, we got the traffic snarl cleaned up though, so we have at least that going for us, but it doesn't help us out in the long run. I mean, it does seem to be that way, or at least our garbage collection gave up, so... So weird, so frustrating, so pointless, because it shouldn't have done that, but it did. And because it did that, we had a massive headache. But at least we found out about it now rather than later. And yeah, same thing. Look at all of these people queuing up and stuck at this intersection. Well, we'll just have to hope that that snarl undoes it. That's a lot of walkers. That is a lot of people walking through the city. You do want to see people walking. You do want to see people using mass transit. You don't want to see people getting stuck at intersections, though. Like they are right here. It almost makes me think that a tram got stuck while we were doing stuff and despawned and dumped a few million people onto the street. It's kind of how I feel what might have happened. And it's not helping that it looks like some of like, these cars are trying to pull into that when this tram line is trying to follow that. Okay, let's see what happens if I come over and use our transport line tools here to see if that speeds things up. This could be a direct issue just because of this parking center, but I'm not sure. However, that did seem to clear some of that up, so. At least I got the line moving again. Okay, except for right here where the line is stuck, seemingly. And it seems to be stuck here. Okay, in that case, that tram did just despawn and it did dump people. Why in the world would it do that, I wonder? Almost feels like that started after we added that extra tram depot up here. I wonder if we somehow broke the connection in a way that I'm not understanding. Let me... drag that down and then... I'm completely clueless, guys. I have no idea, and I apologize for this. Well, the trams seem to be moving again, so... Okay, we're gonna have to hope that that's gonna work out because I'm throwing my hands up here in confusion, submission, whatever you want to take it as. Okay. Well, now that we've gone through all of that, let's take another look at our ship lines. Uh, no, not really any improvements. Oh, actually, no. The second line is packing in 269 passengers a shot, so we're good. All right. While we're breaking transit, before we call it quits for the night, why don't we? I'm thinking very hard. You might be able to hear the fumes firing off. Our bus station, our harbor, does have that bus station extension that we purchased for it. So let's go ahead and run a bus line, but let's take a quick look and see where a bus line would look good at. We don't have any bus lines that are coming into our downtown area at all. So we do have this larger bus station up here. Let's do ourselves a favor and get some of this traffic off the road by creating a new route starting from this station. And then I'm just going to do a straight express line all the way down to here and back. And this is just going to serve as a way for us to get people from the middle of a town coming right back up into our rural section. So that's going to bypass everything we hear, but it is going to serve as an express line. So in order to make up for that a little bit, let's take a look at, say, a small bus station, which we can fit. Looks like a good spot for that. Well, let's take a quick look at the things we have. We have a parking building, an elementary school. We've got those apartments. We do have that hospital and all of this parking garage area up here. Let's go ahead and take our small bus station. We'll install it off here, off to the side. This will put it near the trams. Drop that right there. Go ahead and give us much of a boost as we can with extra stalls, a taxi stop, and then we'll add station services right here and there off to the side. Those will fit in just quite nice. Perfect. Okay. I'm happy with that. Not happy with that little bit of weird space right there. Let's drag that out to the curb. Cover up that healthy green space with concrete. All right, now we've got that stop there. We will create a bus line. This one will go straight down to the harbor. And then back up with no other stops. Now, what this does, just very simply, is we've just made a mini hub here, because now the harbor has become a major transit destination. And once we install the subway line, it'll be the largest or second largest transit station we have in the whole city, because people from uptown will come straight down here to the harbor to go harbor places. People who want to go into Midtown can also go straight to the harbor. And the people who want to go from Midtown to Uptown, well, hey, look at that. They can connect at the harbor. And then from there, they can also connect to rail and to the main subway lines. But you are seeing a little error message right here, and that says no vehicles, or it did for a second. No vehicles means we don't have enough vehicles, which means we're going to have to build another bus hub, which we can do. So that is going to be a problem, especially because since we've got this small station here, there's no reason not to go ahead and have a couple of other connections, especially up here in high traffic areas like this parking garage. Let's slip in a bus stop. let's go for behind the hospital. To try to avoid overwhelming the lines we've already overwhelmed a good bit. And we'll put in some more of those dedicated transit roads we were experimenting with a moment ago. Let's see, I know that they went somewhere. Where did they go? There it goes. Okay, they went up, they went up. Okay. So we've got a couple of bus stops behind the hospital. And let's see, that bus station is right there next to the city building, so there's no real sense to putting one right there. But we can go ahead and slip an extra bus station right in there, and that's the civilian walkway section. So we're going to go from one. Where's that going to make us go? That's the question. To 2. To waypoint. And that just gives us a small little route through the mid-northern section of downtown, but we don't have enough buses. So let's come over, let's go to our bus depot, pick a good spot for one. We're putting a lot of our transit over here. I don't see any reason not to continue that. Let's slip it in. It almost fits. Okay, electric bus fleet. Two bus garages side by side. That's all the upgrades I should need. Vehicles in use 3 of 45. We're good. Okay, and those will be connecting down here and going off to Lord only knows where. Okay, but now with this extra bit of mass transit here, that will help literally everything. So now we do have a bus line dead center-ish with a couple of bus stops set up over here. Soon we'll put in an extra bus stop over here. No real reason to put in a new bus stop down here on the side unless we want to be super creative. Like if we put a bus stop shelter here in front of the train station. And then it looks like these lines are automatically running themselves up through this side. So let's just give it reason. I think that'll do. Okay, so let's just add route, route, route. Slip it in over here. Add an unused platform. Scroll in to find an unused platform. And then finish. And now if somebody wants to go from that internal route we just put in, they just have to walk down a couple of blocks and they'll be at the main hub. Or they can take the internal, walk down, and take one of, looks like bus line 5, all the way back up into the middle of town up here. So that should in theory, hopefully in practice, alleviate a lot of this bus stress. Okay, we have done the following because it is time for our City Skylines 2 wrap up. But before we do, just a quick reminder. If you enjoy what I do, how I do, what I've said, how I've said it, and some of the frustrations that I've had as I've built this city up for you today, and I'm going to be honest with you, from the minute I decided that I was going to run this stream today, last night, I have thought about how I wanted to build this. I love building in City Skylines 2. I wish I was better at it. I wish I was better at attracting attention while I did it. And I wish I had more people following me on the stream as I did this. But I do want to say thank you very much for it because building this has been in the back of my head almost all day. And I've been looking forward to this evening over here with you. So much the fact that I'm super late on dinner and everything else. But I don't care because I had a good time hanging out, building this, and talking about the build with you. And I hope you enjoyed your time with me too. All right, so I've said all that, so let's take a look really quick. If you like what I do, how I do it, where I do it, and all that other fun stuff, again, you can follow me on a variety of platforms, including YouTube at youtube.com/JoshuaEBSmith and Facebook at facebook.com/SagaDMW and a few others. So let me drop these over in chat as well. YouTube right here. Then Facebook right over here. And finally, my website where I do all sorts of things writing, and publishing industry related over at sagadmw.com. All right, you've been tuning into Dead Man Streaming, and now it's time for our city recap. Once I get back to the right game window. There we go. Cool. Okay, so the very first thing we did, the most important thing we did, the absolute thing we did was we installed the harbor. And we made sure that we had both of our upgrades on it, including the extra pier, because there is no sense in not just assume that if you're spending the... How much is it to build one of these suckers? If you're spending the 420,000, assume automatically it's going to be 520,000 because it's silly if you don't. And then because we already had our bus and taxi depots built, we were able to go ahead and install the transit terminal for $75,000. Then, while we worked on that, as the game progressed, we did install a couple extra parking garages, multi-level parking buildings, which fit in perfectly down here. We zoned in a large plaza on one side. We zoned in a passage park on the other side. We put in some absolutely game engine pointless park decorations over here, but it's just something for the visual appeal of it all. We attempted to put a small over-road subway system across the top of Pine Street, and then the game was just like, no, you're not. And then I said some things that you thankfully didn't hear over the stream because I was keeping them inside my head for once. And we deleted it, restarted the game, and installed the elevated subway station right here that is doing absolutely nothing except costing us money. Why? Because it's not connected to our subway system. Why? Because we haven't built our subway system yet. It's kind of important to do that. We did go ahead and put down a couple of subway yards so that eventually when we get around to digging giant holes in the dirt, we'll be able to run some trains through them. All right, in addition to that, we put in a Japanese-styled recycling center right over here next to our cargo port that we installed a couple of episodes back. We added some additional industrial buildings right through here. Much later in the day, we installed our fuel plant over here, which is creating petrochemicals, does require green, so it's putting our farms to good work up north. We played around with a really weird tram bug that absolutely brought everything in our city to a standstill. We are witnessing somebody's car on fire as they somehow managed to go up a hill half a mile. Yeah, good luck to you. Have fun with your insurance premium. Moving down around, we then came over and we did some redevelopment for our industrial park over here, the one we started the city off with. And we did that by moving our water treatment plant down by literally a block, moving around our recycling center, moving around this bus depot, and installing an extra storage warehouse, as well as zoning in some additional basic industry. Whew. Plus alleys, roadways, miscellaneous stuff that has absolutely no purpose except just to make our cities look good and our eyes happy with us. With all that said, though, we do have some bugs that we need to address. And there it is. There's the one I was missing. We enhance the size of our graveyards. It's exceedingly expensive and itself, honestly, as costly it is for those particular graveyard buildings, probably a glitch on the game's end. I'm just going to leave it at that. All right. We do have some bugs. We've got issues with medical, where we're not having enough ambulances coming into our city. Some of that is being caused by traffic, and some of the traffic is being caused by bizarre traffic wrecks, which do happen in any city, but sometimes, what the heck? Oh, somebody rear-ended a bus. Oof. All right. just looking away from that. And we did our best to try to fix that tram issue, and hell if I know if we did. Finally, you got to see me curse as I showed you how insanely frustrating it can be to install retaining walls and seawalls and just, the best we can do with bridges, ports, and piers in this game until they release the bridges, ports, and piers expansion pack. Because we don't have the retaining walls that we deserve, and we don't have any of the waterfront assets that we should have by this point. We don't have any seafront hotels. We don't have any red light districts. We don't have any yacht clubs or marinas or, sea-doo rentals or any of the things that would make our city absolutely pop when it comes to coming down to the waterfront, or even fish factories. And that was one of the very first things that got attached to Cities Skylines 1. So if you're looking for a game where you can do a lot of waterside development, this ain't it. It just ain't. And I'm very disappointed by that, but I can only build what I can build within the constraints of this. As always, if you like what I do and you want to follow other creators who do an amazing job, check out City Planner Plays. Check out Biffa Plays Indie Games. Check out Imperture. Check out Mike Builds. They do what I do. They do it a lot better. But I play with no mods, and I just sort of do this live, off the cuff, and with a lot of swearing. Oh, and don't forget the other bug that's been plaguing the game for a while. High density residential results in a death wave almost every single time, and it'll choke out your crematoriums or your graveyards if you aren't expecting it, or even if you are. So just be careful out there. People are dying left and right. No, I should say they're dying to move into your city. What can I say? My crematorium brings all the ash shakes to the yard. ASH. ASH. Ash shakes. Pay attention to what I say. All right. Have a good night, everybody. We are done today. Our next episode, whenever I get around to recording it, probably be, I don't know, maybe Friday, maybe Saturday. I picked up Diablo 4 last week. I haven't had a chance to touch it yet. Kind of want to. Kind of getting itchy for it. But I've also got a couple of deadlines that I'm working towards. So, who knows? All right. Either way, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you had fun. Follow the links if you like to keep what I'm doing. And don't forget to give me a follow over here. And as for now, we're just going to enjoy the Aurora Borealis, or I should say the Milky Way galaxy, while we watch our ships come in and out of our ports and harbor. Wow. This is why I don't do audiobooks. Have a good night, everybody. I'll see you all again soon. Ding. Really couldn't have timed that ding better if I tried.